worry, it's not class this time. This is a bonus segment. It's not academic. You don't have to be here and you're not being graded. It's just something I thought you all might appreciate, might get something out of. I'm here with my sister-in-law, Annie Rodriguez, and we kind of just want to talk about a lot of stuff that's going on, and feel free to tune in if you're interested. Annie, I'd like you to meet my class.
Hello, it's so good to meet you all. I am really tempted to start with, hey y'all, because that's how I introduce myself whenever I say hi in my videos for my teens. But I work at a church in Houston, Texas right now, and so I get to work with also high schoolers, but in the faith formation part in the church, as opposed to doing faith formation through the school, because a lot of them don't go to Catholic school. So,
excellent. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're stationed and how it is you got there?
Yeah. So I'm at St. Mary of the Expectation Church in League City, which is a wonderful suburb of Houston that has NASA's around there and everything, and so it's a very vibrant area. There's a lot of Catholics. They're very interested in being involved in the faith, which is great. So I'm doing a graduate program through Notre Dame that sent me there, which is wonderful. And I'm just so grateful for the experience being with them, because it's a youth ministry that has over 300 kids attend weekly. So it's really a phenomenal group, and there's so much energy. So it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. So I'm going to kind of get right into it. Coronavirus. It's here, it's there, it's everywhere. It's honestly impressive. You were even able to get home, when you were to come and visit, and glad we're able to have you here live to do this interview.
Me too.
How's it going in your diocese? How does it look similar or different to here? How's that being handled at the church level?
Yeah, so basically right now, everything's pretty much the same in Houston as it is here. We were a couple days behind, so you guys canceled masses before we did, but now we're at basically the same spot. All of the schools are canceled until April 10th. I think that they're about to move it to April 17th, but we're working on making sure that everything is available online for everyone. My office has everyone cycled through, so everyone's only there one day a week, and we're only there for 6 hours. But we're doing our best to help keep people calm, right? So we're answering phones, answering questions, and then just offering encouragement, trying to help people to recognize that this scary time can be a vehicle for a lot of good.
Very good. Now, I know one of the things that's going on here, all of our schools are closed. Actually, I'm very blessed to be at a school where we're not closed. The campus is closed, but our classes are still running. So all of my students are tuning into all of our classes on time and completing all of their assignments.
I'm sure.
Absolutely no exceptions, I'm positive. But one of the things I know is a cause of great concern to some people here, and I suspect it is there too, is it's counterintuitive to cancel Mass. If that's one of the greatest sources of grace that we have, the greatest source of grace that we have, are we worried that canceling Mass is giving up our best weapon against fighting this natural evil?
I mean, I'll be honest, Luke, it kind of frustrates me when people start getting upset about Masses being canceled, because I think it shows that we have a very compartmentalized idea of what the church is and what it means to live a life of grace. Obviously, the Eucharist is a huge source, and the sacraments are a huge source of grace for us, because that's a sacramental grace that we can't get anywhere else. And though we're bound by the sacraments, God is not bound by the sacraments, and He wants to be with us as much now as He does when we are able to actually go to Mass, right? So there are so many wonderful things that people are doing, live streaming Masses, live streaming daily prayer, like the Liturgy of the Hours. The Dominican sisters in Ann Arbor are doing that with their convent, which is beautiful. And you see there's this great outreach among Catholics of people coming together and saying, no, we recognize that the church is still praying. The church is still active, even though we can't be in the building receiving the Eucharist and saying Mass. So I think that this is a time where we can really help each other to recognize how robust it really is to be Catholic. It's not just about going to church on Sundays and receiving the Eucharist. The Eucharist is the source and summit of our Christian faith, right? So it's important to make a spiritual act of communion, but that's not all it is. There's so much more.
I'm finding it helpful, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I'm finding it helpful that this is an opportunity to teach people that participation in the Mass is different than sort of serving or lecturing at the Mass, and that you can make a spiritual communion, that you can send your guardian angel to participate in the private mass being offered by the priest at your parish, etc. Not that those should be the primary spirituality, but that those are options I think a lot of people don't even know about. I shouldn't say happy, that this is happening, but happy for the opportunity to sort of teach those things a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially, there's that phrase that God can write straight with crooked lines, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of those times where there's a lot of crooked lines going on. There's a lot of things that are making people really afraid and feel distanced from God because they're like, I'm not feeling good, I'm feeling anxious right now, therefore God cannot be a part of this. But it is in these times that He's here lifting us up even more, right? When you see all of the wonderful things about people coming together, having prayer group chats where you wouldn't normally think to call your friends at home and talk about prayer, talk about the things that you want to pray about. You wouldn't have people normally at home thinking, how can I be involved in this Mass? Let me read the readings. Let me actually think about what's going on. And we're recognizing just how well we can participate, even though we're not physically there.
I have to wonder how many lay people who have no idea about something like the Liturgy of the Hours are now suddenly becoming aware that that's a thing and is an appropriate substitute for the Sunday obligation to participate in the holy sacrifice of the Mass when you are unable to get to Mass. I mean, that's right in canon law, and those people don't know it, and now they're suddenly discovering it. I see a real opportunity there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Luke. And I wanted to bring up that, to be in good relationship with God, we have to spend time with Him. And I think that everyone is recognizing that to be able to spend time with Him includes doing things at home. There are creative ways that we can do this, right? There are still ways that we can show God that we love Him. And this isn't to downplay the importance of going to Mass, right? Because we do still have that obligation. Whether or not we feel like it, we go to Mass on Sundays when it's possible. And right now it's not possible. So there are other things that we can do to show God that we love Him and to work on that relationship.
One of the terms used that kind of hooked my interest is creativity. When the faculty at Pope Francis Prep were meeting and talking about the possibility of closing the school, of shutting down for 2 weeks or indefinitely, and how we could run school without kids going to school and how difficult that would be. A lot of people were anxious, some people are stressed. We had a lot of good support and guidance. I'm very happy by how that was handled. That was, we're in a good place for a good reason. But I was very excited, and I think a lot of people were looking at me and laughing at me, why are you so excited? As a teacher, the number one reason I don't do creative lessons, I recycle what I have from last year and maybe put one little twist on it, is one, that I don't have a ton of mental and emotional and temporal space. My schedule's cramped and I'm overwhelmed. And two, I don't have the external pressure. I don't have a deadline bearing down on me to get something done. An indefinitely long campus closure where I still have to teach my lessons on time, guess what I just got in abundance? Time and space and deadlines.
Pressure.
And I'm trying everything I got. I mean, if you told me a month ago that I would be flying people in from out of state just to do interviews, to post on a web show, I would have said, I'm not a technology-friendly person, right? But here we are.
Here we are indeed. And it's funny because there is a big, a different epidemic than COVID-19, and that's the increase of anxiety and depression in young people. This is a very real thing. And so when we hear the word pressure, there's a very negative connotation for this generation, right? And understandably so. But also, this is cheesy, but, diamonds are made under pressure, right? And there's a good kind of pressure and there's a bad kind of pressure. And I feel like what we're all experiencing right now is the pressure to do something extraordinary. This is a good. We need to change our lives and we can do this well. And so I really appreciate that you've embraced this pressure, right? Recognizing this is a great opportunity, even though it's a really bad situation, right? I'm not saying that this is a good situation. It's tough, but we can make it something good. we can make it something good, especially, to suffer well includes suffering joyfully. Joy and happiness are not the same things. Right, we're giving things up. This is hard, but we can do it with joy and with a happy spirit, a giving spirit.
I have to tell my juniors, I didn't coach around any of that. This isn't just
No.
me. I'm not the only person trying to tell you guys that suffering well is a necessary skill for happiness. But it's a reprise in my classroom a lot that they like to tease me about.
Well, I'm happy to assist.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful, and it calls to mind for me, which I know you will appreciate, the image of Saint Dominic that I think it's a Fra Angelico painting of Saint Dominic hugging the base of the cross and kissing part of it, and it's really interesting because you look at this image and it's kind of odd. Because, the part that he's kissing has blood on it and everything, and it's just, it looks kind of gross and gritty, but, there's a real deep beauty to that, and the reality that, it's hard. No one ever said that it would be easy to be Catholic, but it is still beautiful and joyful, and, nothing good comes without struggle.
So, hard question.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to make of the fact that presumably God's in control and yet he's letting this sort of worldwide plague pandemic afflict so many places? Mm-hmm. How's that sitting with you?
Yeah, it really is a hard question because it's something that, a lot of us feel kind of abandoned by God in moments like this where we're like, there is so much evil in the world, so much suffering, and how could a good God be letting all of this happen? But the reality is that now this is a jump, and I will explain my logic in a second. But all of this is able to happen because you matter. Each one of you that is watching this, you matter, and the decisions that you make matter, and they have an impact in the world, right? And so logic, right? I'm not saying you caused coronavirus. Not true. But what I'm saying is that from the very beginning, God wanted us to have agency in the world. He wanted us to be able to make an impact and make a difference. And because of some of the decisions that our first ancestors made, right, evil entered into the world. With the fall came evil and this rupture, right? So this is, theological language that is used all the time, right? The 4 great ruptures, but one of those is between man and nature. And all sorts of things happen throughout the world because of this imbalance, the reality that we're not living in the utopia that God intended for us. He works in this. He works in the messiness. He works in the evil and the that being, a natural evil as opposed to a moral evil. But he works in all of this to bring about his goodness because he is good. So it's not a God is good, how could he let this happen? But this is happening, and because God is good, he is injecting himself into it and helping it to be something that is good. Or that can be good.
I like that you're jumping back to Genesis. It's one of the key places anytime we're trying to understand evil, natural and moral, and how they affect the human condition, the way this obviously has. My mind wanders a book ahead, and I'm looking at Exodus. The biggest benefit I see coming out of this is a proper practice of leisure. Not leisure the way our contemporary American society tends to practice it, which is more like gross consumption to compensate for overwork, but rather time with family, time in creativity, time at peace and rest. And the ideas I'm rolling around here come from the Exodus and come from Moses. When God inflicts through Moses the first plague on Egypt, 7 days pass before the second one. And the implication, or at least one tradition, is that these plagues are happening on Sabbaths. The idea being a culture that refuses to rest, that refuses to take time to stop and pray and reflect on what's really important. God's going to use these bad things to help it along to do so. So many people are off from their day jobs, home from school, not worrying about grades, can't worry about their career. They are worrying about money, even though many people are going to be fine. Stocks are down, so what? They'll bounce back. But your stocks, your day job, your careers, those aren't going to share heaven with you. But the people you're spending time at home with are, hopefully, God willing. There's a real corrective here. So the main good I see coming out of this, right? The creativity we talked about before, the ability to teach, to learn new things, it takes a lot of freedom, a lot of leisure, a lot of time and space to do that. And we've suddenly had that handed to us, even in a way we didn't necessarily want, right? There are real benefits, and there is a real spiritual and moral good to be cultivated here, and I hope we're taking the opportunity to do that. I know I'm certainly trying to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I've had so many more friends, dear friends that I love so much, reach out to me, text or call and be like, hey, we've got time now. You want to catch up? We haven't talked in a few months. And it's been so lovely to feel like I've got the leisure to say, like, yeah, let's talk. Like, how's your heart? How are you doing? Like, real update, not just these are the things I'm working on, but like, how are you? How is your soul? Like, those aren't questions that we always get to ask each other.
I'm noticing the same thing in a minor way at work. I mean, normally faculty emails are, well, about as exciting as you'd expect, right? And now I have a couple colleagues sending out a riddle of the day, and they're bouncing puns back and forth, and every once in a while someone just sends out a pick-me-up to the whole team. That family dynamic is really coming through in a special way, and it's wonderful to see, and it's happening in a community where normally you're just a little too busy and stressed.
Yeah, and I know that I've noticed as well. So I mentioned that I work with teenagers, and there's about 300 people that cycle through each week that I work with, and I've had the beautiful, beautiful opportunity to be able to actually check in with people individually and start to work on, like, I like being able to know people. I like being able to cater to the needs of the entire person. But it's hard when you've got so many people coming through and so many people need things from you. But now that this has all kind of blown that up, I'm able to, in various media, be email or Instagram, or we've got group messages going on with some of our teams, check in with people that I know are having a hard time, just say, like, hey, I'm here for you, and I'm praying for you. Like, how specifically can I pray for you? I have the time to ask those questions. And that's really the heart of ministry. I think God has really helped me a lot. I know at the beginning of the semester, I was like, it's my last semester in Texas. There's all these things that I want to do. My schedule was so booked. And I remember telling my spiritual director, it's all good and I don't want to let any of it go. But I'm super overworked right now, and I haven't been able to do the relational ministry that I want to. The real ministry, which is one-on-one, person to person. I am here for you,
Beautiful. I think that's going to wrap it up for us here today. Students, anyone else watching? Miss Annie Rodriguez, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention here, and for me and for my students and for the ministry for them, but also for your words of consolation, of joy in a difficult time. Thank you. That means a lot.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was great to be able to spend time with you guys as well, and please know that you are all in my prayers as well. Pope Francis Prep is a big part of my family's life, and so I pray for you guys all the time.
If they're trying to follow you, where should they be looking?
Follow me at Saint Mary YCM, St. Mary YCM on Instagram. I've got some videos up that are going up each week. We're having a lot of fun, so check us out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless.
Bye.